I want you to imagine something for me. Imagine being so powerful that entire neighborhoods go silent when you enter. So feared that grown men won't meet your eyes. So in control that you've never, not once in 16 years, shown weakness in public. Now imagine sitting in the most expensive restaurant in Los Angeles while your 4-month-old son screams and screams and screams, and everyone is staring, and you have absolutely no idea how to make it stop. Welcome back to Unusual Tales. What I'm about to tell you is the story of Yoon Ji-hoon, a man who built an empire on fear and control, who discovered that the most terrifying thing in the world isn't death or violence or losing power. It's holding your own child and realizing you have no idea how to be what he needs. And it's about Amanda Williams, a waitress working her way through college who walked up to one of the most dangerous men in California and did something nobody had done in years. She treated him like he was human. This is a story about the moment when power meets peace, when control meets surrender, when a man who thought he had nothing left to fear discovered he'd been terrified all along. Drop a comment right now telling me where you're watching from, and hit that subscribe button for Unusual Tales because what happens next will change everything you think you know about strength. Let's begin. The restaurant was called Elysium, fitting name for a place where a single meal cost what most people made in a week. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Los Angeles. Tables spaced so far apart that conversation stayed private. The kind of place where powerful people made deals over perfectly plated food and wine that cost more than cars. Yoon Jae-hoon had been coming here for 5 years. Always the same table. Corner position, back to the wall, clear view of all entrances. Always the same order. Whatever the chef recommended, wine he never finished, business conducted in low tones that the well-trained staff knew better than to overhear. Tonight should have been the same. It wasn't. Because tonight, Ji-hoon wasn't alone. Tonight, he had his 4-month-old son, Dae-hyun, strapped to his chest in one of those expensive carriers that promised to keep babies calm and secure. The carrier was a lie. Dae-hyun was screaming. Not fussing. Not crying softly like babies do in movies. Screaming with the desperate, relentless intensity of someone drowning. Red-faced, tears streaming, little body rigid with distress, and every single person in Elysium was staring. Ji-hoon felt heat crawl up his neck. Shame, real and burning, a sensation so foreign he almost didn't recognize it. He'd faced down rival gangs without flinching. He'd negotiated million-dollar deals with Russian mobsters without showing emotion. He'd watched men die and never blinked. But sitting here, in this restaurant full of Los Angeles' elite, while his son screamed and people stared and whispered, Jae-hoon wanted to disappear. "Sir." His bodyguard Park appeared at his elbow, voice low and urgent. "Perhaps we should leave. Return home where—" "No." The word came out harder than Ji-hoon intended, because leaving meant admitting defeat, meant admitting that he couldn't handle one tiny baby. Meant admitting that 6 months after Sora's death, he still had no idea how to be a father. Ji-hoon adjusted his hold on Dae-hyun, trying to remember what the last nanny had said. Support the head. Rock gently. Keep your energy calm. His energy was anything but calm. "Shh," Ji-hoon whispered in Korean, his voice rough. "Please, please stop crying." Dae-hyun screamed louder as if Ji-hoon's pleading only made it worse. Across the restaurant, a woman in designer clothes whispered to her companion. A businessman 2 tables over checked his watch pointedly. The sommelier hovered nearby, clearly wanting to help but having no idea how. Ji-hoon closed his eyes briefly. In the darkness behind his eyelids, he saw Sora. Beautiful, warm, patient Sora, who'd always known how to make everything better. Who'd wanted this baby so badly. Who'd promised Ji-hoon that he'd be a wonderful father once he stopped being afraid. "I'm not afraid," he told her. He'd been lying then. He was terrified now. "Mr. Yoon." Park's voice was gentle, the way you'd speak to someone on the edge of breaking. "Please, let me call the car." Ji-hoon was about to agree, about to surrender, about to run, when someone appeared beside their table. A woman. She was young, maybe mid-20s, with deep brown skin that glowed warm under the restaurant's soft lighting. Natural hair pulled back in a neat ponytail. Server's uniform perfectly pressed. Eyes the color of rich coffee, calm and steady as still water. She looked at Ji-hoon without fear. Looked at Dae-hyun without irritation. Just looked, with a kind of peaceful assessment that made something in Ji-hoon's chest unclench slightly. "Excuse me," she said softly, her voice carrying a faint accent. "African, maybe West African. May I try something?" Ji-hoon stared at her. Park tensed, hand moving instinctively toward his weapon. The maitre d' appeared from nowhere, face panicked. "Amanda, you can't just approach Mr. Yoon's table." "It's fine," Ji-hoon heard himself say. Because what did he have to lose? Pride? That was already gone, shattered by 40 minutes of public humiliation. Control? His screaming son had taken that the moment they'd walked through the door. Amanda, that's what the maitre d' had called her, stepped closer. She didn't reach for Dae-hyun immediately. Instead, she did something strange. She hummed. Low, quiet, barely audible under the baby's crying. Not a song exactly, more like a rhythm. A pulsive sound that seemed to sync with something Ji-hoon couldn't quite identify. Then she spoke, her voice maintaining that same rhythmic quality. "May I hold him?" Every instinct Ji-hoon possessed screamed no. He didn't hand his son to strangers. He didn't trust servers in restaurants. He didn't show vulnerability to anyone, ever. But his arms ached from holding the rigid, screaming baby. His head pounded. His heart felt like it was being squeezed in a vice. "Yes," he said quietly. Amanda reached for Dae-hyun with practiced ease, her movements smooth and unhurried. She lifted him from the carrier, adjusted his position against her shoulder, and continued that low, rhythmic humming. Dae-hyun screamed once more. Twice. Then, impossibly, the screaming stopped. Just stopped. The sudden silence was so complete that Ji-hoon could hear his own heartbeat, could hear the soft clink of silverware at distant tables, could hear the city beyond the windows. But not his son. Dae-hyun's head rested against Amanda's shoulder, his breathing evening out. His tiny fingers clutched at her uniform. His eyes, red and swollen from crying, began to drift closed. Ji-hoon stared. The entire restaurant stared. Amanda swayed gently, that humming continuing like a heartbeat, and Ji-hoon watched his impossible, inconsolable son relax completely in a stranger's arms. "How?" His voice cracked. He cleared his throat. "How did you do that?" Amanda looked at him and her eyes were kind. Not pitying, not condescending, just kind. "Babies don't understand words yet," she said softly, still swaying. "They understand rhythm. Energy? Your energy is very sharp right now, stressed. He can feel it and it makes him afraid." "He's afraid," Ji-hoon repeated slowly. "Of course, he's 4 months old. The world is huge and scary, and the person he depends on most is radiating tension." She smiled gently at Dae-hyun. He just needed someone to show him it's okay to be calm. Ji-hoon felt something crack inside his chest. "I don't know how to do that. Be calm. Show him it's okay." Amanda met his eyes. "Then maybe you need to learn. For both your sakes." Park shifted uncomfortably. The maitre d' looked like he wanted to intervene but didn't dare. The entire restaurant had gone silent, everyone watching this impossible scene. The feared Yoon Ji-hoon receiving parenting advice from a waitress. "What's your name?" Ji-hoon asked quietly. "Amanda Williams." "How long have you worked here, Amanda Williams?" 3 months. I'm studying music therapy at UCLA. This job pays tuition." Music therapy? That explained the humming, the rhythm, the instinctive understanding of sound and emotion. Ji-hoon made a decision, the kind of instant, absolute decision that had built his empire. "How much do they pay you here?" Amanda blinked, surprised. I, that's not really. I'll triple it, quadruple it, whatever it takes. He leaned forward. Come work for me. Help my son. Teach me how to. He stopped, the words catching in his throat. Teach me how to not be afraid of him. Silence stretched between them. Amanda looked down at Daehyun, who was now sleeping peacefully against her shoulder. Looked back at Jihoon, studying his face with that same calm assessment. You're not afraid of him, she said softly. You're afraid of failing him. There's a difference. The words hit Jihoon like a physical blow. True. Too true. Unbearably true. Then help me not fail him, Jihoon said, and he didn't care that his voice carried desperation. Didn't care that Park was watching. Didn't care that he was showing weakness in public. All he cared about was the image before him, his son, peaceful and safe in someone else's arms. Someone who'd done in 3 minutes what Jihoon hadn't managed in 4 months. Amanda was quiet for a long moment. This isn't just about paying me money, Mr. Yoon. This is about you doing the work, being present, learning to regulate your own emotions so he can learn from you. I'll do whatever it takes. Will you? She met his eyes steadily. Because I get the feeling you're a man used to buying solutions. But you can't buy peace. You can't buy calm. You have to create it. Jihoon felt like he was standing on the edge of something. A cliff, maybe, or a doorway into a completely different life. I know, he said quietly. I know I can't buy this. But I'm asking you to teach me anyway. Not as an employee, as... He searched for the word. As someone who might understand what I don't. Amanda swayed gently, the sleeping baby secure in her arms. Around them, the restaurant had started moving again. Conversations resuming in whispers, staff pretending not to watch, the world continuing despite this strange moment of raw honesty. I need to think about it, Amanda said finally. This is a lot, and I don't know you. I don't know if your world is somewhere I want to be. My world is dangerous, Jihoon admitted. I won't lie about that. But my son lives in it, and he deserves better than a father who's too broken to hold him. Something shifted in Amanda's expression. You're not broken. You're grieving. And scared. That's human. I'm not supposed to be human, Jihoon said, the words escaping before he could stop them. I'm supposed to be in control. Control is overrated, Amanda replied, especially when it comes to babies. They don't care about your power or your reputation. They just need you to be present. She carefully transferred Daehyun back into Jihoon's arms. The baby stirred but didn't wake, settling against his father's chest with a soft sigh. Jihoon looked down at his son. At the peaceful face, the relaxed body, the trust implicit in that small form resting against him. 1 week, Amanda said. Give me 1 week to think about it. If I decide to help you, we do this my way. No shortcuts, no throwing money at problems. Real work. Agreed. She pulled a pen from her apron and wrote a number on a napkin. Call me in a week. We'll talk. Then she walked away, back to the service station, back to her regular life. Leaving Jihoon holding his sleeping son and a napkin with 10 digits that might change everything. Park leaned in. Boss, are you sure about this? We don't know anything about her. She could be... Run a background check, Jihoon said quietly, not taking his eyes off Daehyun. But do it carefully. I don't want her scared. I don't want her to disappear. And if the check shows problems? Then I deal with them. Jihoon finally looked up. But something tells me you won't find anything except a woman trying to survive and help people, which is more than I can say for most people in my life. They left the restaurant 20 minutes later. Daehyun slept the entire drive home, peaceful in his car seat. Jihoon sat beside him, watching the steady rise and fall of that small chest, and thought about Amanda's words. You're not afraid of him. You're afraid of failing him. For the first time since Sora died, Jihoon felt something other than numbness or grief. He felt hope. Fragile, terrifying, but real. 7 days felt like 7 years. Park's background check came back clean. Amanda Williams, 24 years old, UCLA student, music therapy major, originally from Ghana, living in a small apartment in Koreatown with 2 roommates. Spotless record. No debts beyond student loans. Worked 2 jobs, Elysium and weekend shifts at a community center teaching music to kids. She's exactly what she appears to be, Park reported. A good person working hard and helping others. Jihoon had nodded slowly. Good people don't usually walk up to men like me. Maybe she didn't know who you are. Everyone knows who I am. But maybe Amanda did and hadn't cared. Maybe she'd seen a father struggling with his child and decided humanity mattered more than reputation. The thought was so foreign to Jihoon's world that he almost couldn't process it. On the 7th day, Jihoon called the number on the napkin. She answered on the 3rd ring. Hello? It's Yoon Jihoon from Elysium. A pause. I know who you are, Mr. Yoon. I'm hoping your answer is yes. Another pause, longer this time. Jihoon could hear music in the background, children singing, slightly off-key but joyful. I have conditions, Amanda said finally. Name them. First, I keep my other job, the community center. Those kids need me and I need to stay connected to normal life. Agreed. Second, you don't just throw money at me and expect me to fix everything. This is a partnership. You do the work too. Agreed. Third, if I see anything illegal, anything that puts me or your son in danger, I walk away. No negotiation. Jihoon was quiet. That condition was impossible. His entire life was illegal. Danger was constant. But he understood what she was really asking. Don't let your world consume us. I'll keep you separate from business, he said carefully. You and Daehyun, that's the best I can offer. Then I need to think about, I'm desperate, Amanda. The words came out raw. My son is 4 months old and I've held him maybe a dozen times. Every nanny quits. He cries constantly unless someone who isn't me holds him. I don't sleep. I barely eat. I'm running an organization that requires complete focus, and I can't focus because I keep seeing my wife's face and hearing my son scream. He took a breath. I know I'm asking a lot. I know my world is complicated and dangerous, but if you can teach me how to be what Daehyun needs, even a fraction of what he needs, I'll protect you with everything I have. That's my promise. Silence on the other end. Just the distant sound of children's music and Amanda's breathing. Okay, she said softly. Okay, but we start slow. A few hours at first. See how it goes. Relief flooded through Jihoon so powerfully he had to sit down. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This is going to be hard work, Mr. Yoon, for both of us. Call me Jihoon, he said. If we're going to do this, you should probably stop calling me Mr. Yoon. All right, Jihoon. He could hear the smile in her voice. Then you should probably stop thinking of this as a business transaction. Babies know the difference. I'm learning that. They arranged for Amanda to come to his home the next day. After she hung up, Jihoon sat in his office for a long time, staring at his phone. Park found him there an hour later. She said yes? She said yes. You look terrified. Boss? Jihoon laughed, a rough, hollow sound. I am, more than I've ever been. Of a 24-year-old music therapy student? Of the fact that she might actually help, and then I'll have no excuse for failing my son except my own inability to be better. Park was quiet for a moment. Maybe that's the point. Maybe you need someone who doesn't let you hide behind excuses. Maybe he did. Amanda arrived the next afternoon carrying a large canvas bag and wearing jeans and a simple t-shirt that read, "Music is medicine." Jihoon met her at the door of his penthouse. She looked around at the marble floors, the floor-to-ceiling windows, the art that cost more than most houses. Wow, she said quietly. This is sterile. Excuse me? Where's the color? The warmth? The things that make a house feel like a home? She turned to him. Where does Daehyun spend most of his time? The nursery, third door on the left. She headed that way without waiting for an invitation. Jihoon followed, suddenly feeling like a guest in his own home. The nursery was exactly what you'd expect from someone with unlimited money and no idea what babies actually need. Every expensive gadget and toy, perfect temperature control, soft lighting, everything designed for optimal development. Everything except love. Amanda stood in the center of the room, slowly turning. Daehyun lay in his crib, awake but quiet, staring at the mobile overhead. He's not crying, Jihoon said, surprised. Because he's conserving energy. He's learned that crying doesn't bring comfort, so he's given up. Amanda's voice was sad. That's not good, Jihoon. Babies should cry when they need something. The silence is worse than the screaming. Guilt crashed over him. I didn't know. I know. She set down her bag and approached the crib slowly. Hey there, little one. Remember me? Daehyun's eyes tracked her movement. When she picked him up, he made a soft sound. Not quite crying, just acknowledging. Okay, Amanda said, turning to Jihoon. First lesson. Come here. Jihoon approached warily. Hold out your arms. You're going to take him. But he'll react to whatever energy you give him. If you're tense and afraid, he'll be tense and afraid. If you're calm and confident, he'll feel safe. She met his eyes. So take a breath, let it out slow, and believe that you can do this. Jihoon breathed. Let it out. Reached for his son. Amanda transferred Daehyun into his arms, her hands guiding Jihoon's into the right position. Support his head. Keep him close to your heart. Babies are soothed by the heartbeat. And breathe. Daehyun tensed. Jihoon tensed in response. No, Amanda said gently. Breathe, Jihoon. Long, slow breaths. Your body is teaching his body how to regulate. Jihoon focused on breathing. In through his nose, out through his mouth. Slow and steady, like meditation, like the breathing exercises his first martial arts teacher had taught him decades ago. Daehyun's small body began to relax. Now hum, Amanda instructed. Doesn't matter what, just a low sound. Creates vibration against his body. It's soothing. I can't, you can. Just try. Jihoon hummed. It came out rough and uncertain, nothing like Amanda's smooth rhythm. But Daehyun shifted, pressing his cheek against Jihoon's chest, and didn't cry. There, Amanda said softly. You're doing it. You're showing him it's safe. Jihoon looked down at his son, at the small face relaxing, the tiny hand curling into his shirt. Something enormous swelled in his chest, too big for words, too powerful for his usual control. He's not crying, Jihoon whispered, because you're finally present, not thinking about business or problems or all the ways this could go wrong, just here with him. They stood there for long minutes, Jihoon holding Daehyun, Amanda watching with those calm eyes, the afternoon light streaming through the windows. Finally, Daehyun's eyes drifted closed. Deep, peaceful sleep. What do I do now? Jihoon asked quietly. Keep holding him. Let him sleep against you. Let him learn that your arms are safe. For how long? As long as it takes. Amanda smiled. Welcome to fatherhood, Jihoon. It's not efficient or convenient, but it's real. They moved to the rocking chair. Jihoon sat carefully, cradling his sleeping son, feeling the steady breathing, the warmth, the impossible trust. Amanda sat cross-legged on the floor nearby, pulling a small drum from her bag and beginning a soft, rhythmic pattern. What are you doing? Jihoon asked. Creating soundscape. Helps babies stay calm. You can learn this too. Simple rhythms that regulate nervous systems. She paused. Everything I do is teachable, Jihoon. You can learn to be what he needs. I don't know if I can. That's fear talking, and fear is just a story we tell ourselves about the future. She met his eyes. The truth is simpler. You're his father. He needs you, and you're capable of more than you think. Hours passed. Amanda taught him how to change diapers while maintaining calm energy, how to prepare bottles with rhythm and intention, how to read Daehyun's small cues, the way his face scrunched before crying, the small sounds that meant hunger versus discomfort, versus just needing contact. By evening, Jihoon was exhausted in a way he'd never experienced. Not the exhaustion of violence or business stress. Something deeper, more fundamental. The exhaustion of being fully present. "You did well today," Amanda said as she prepared to leave. Daehyun cried less than usual. That's progress. "He cried because I tensed up when Park interrupted." "And you noticed. That's awareness. That's growth." She smiled. "This isn't about perfection, Jihoon. It's about showing up, being willing to try." At the door, she paused. "Same time tomorrow?" "Yes." "And Amanda?" He met her eyes. "Thank you for seeing past who I am to who I might be able to become." "Everyone deserves that chance," she said simply. "Even feared men who run empires. You're still just a person trying to do better." After she left, Jihoon returned to the nursery. Daehyun slept in his crib, peaceful in a way Jihoon had never seen. He stood watching his son breathe and thought about Amanda's words. "You're capable of more than you think." Maybe he was. Maybe they both were. 3 months later, Jihoon could get Daehyun to sleep without help. 6 months later, his son smiled when Jihoon entered a room. A year later, Daehyun's first word was Appa, father in Korean, and Jihoon had cried for the first time since Sora's funeral. Amanda came 3 times a week at first, then twice, then once. Not because Daehyun needed her less, but because Jihoon needed her less. He'd learned the rhythms, the breathing, the presence. He'd learned to be a father, but somewhere along the way, something else happened. He fell in love. Not with the idea of Amanda or gratitude for what she'd done, but with who she was, the woman who taught children music on weekends, who hummed in rhythm without thinking, who saw humanity in everyone, including men who probably didn't deserve it. And she, though she'd never admit it for a long time, fell in love with the man who'd been brave enough to ask for help, who'd put aside pride and power to learn how to hold his son, who'd proved that even the most broken people could heal if they were willing to try. This is Unusual Tales, and this is the truth about strength. Sometimes it looks like surrender. Sometimes it looks like a powerful man admitting he's terrified. Sometimes it looks like accepting help from someone who has nothing to offer except wisdom and patience. If this story reminded you that we're all capable of change, that asking for help is bravery, not weakness, and that the fiercest love sometimes starts with the smallest act of kindness, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment telling me, have you ever asked for help when it terrified you? What did it teach you? Until next time, remember, we're all just people trying to do better. Even the ones who look like they have it all figured out, especially them.